Welcome, everyone. It's that time of the month for a new episode of Talking XP, where we are going to be discussing some of our favorite things, which just so happens to include games, movies, and most importantly, D&D. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am the host, Johnny. We have Ryan with us. How you doing?
Pretty dang good.
Right on. Zach, how you doing?
Oh, doing great. So happy to be here.
Yup. And Daniel, how about you?
Great as per usual.
Right on.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. It really means a lot. It really means a lot.
Just like to know how you're doing. I want to check in.
Dude, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everybody else that's listening, I hope you're doing pretty good too, because it's a pretty scary time going on right now. So,
oh man,
hopefully you could
do
just
whatever you can. Just have a nice day.
You could forget about the world's problems for an hour and a half. So our schedule, we are going to be releasing this content, our regular podcast episodes, every third Tuesday of each month, with other content sprinkled here and there. And some announcements that we have, speaking of other content, we did a live play of Drow Hard. It was very fun. We did one series where we played all the way through until there was a specific thing that happened. I won't put any spoilers.
An unfortunate mistake.
Right. There was a crucial mistake that happened. However, there is a Redux episode that we also released on YouTube as well, which you can find on our YouTube page. We'll have the link in the description. And that turned out a lot better. It was definitely a crucial mistake, which we were able to fix, and it turned out pretty fun. So you guys should go check that out. Another announcement that we have is that we are going to be doing another live play on Wednesday, January 20th at, I believe, either 6 or 7. I'm not entirely sure. We haven't gotten the kinks out.
To be announced.
7 at 7 Pacific Standard Time.
Asterisk,
so go ahead
probably.
And check out our Twitch, which is talking_XP, and we'll see you there. We will be highlighting Jack S. Duncan's adventures, the Fairy Coffins. You can find that along with a few other adventures that he created on DM's Guild. We'll have the link also in the description. And finally, for our announcements, we're going to be talking about The Stand, the book by Stephen King, where all four of us are reading this currently, and we're going to be talking about how we felt about it, and we might have a little surprise while we do it as well. But more information will be coming. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media, and we
if you
will
want to join in the discussion, you
right.
can start reading now and be done by the time the episode comes out.
We'll also probably, maybe, take a look at the TV show that's airing as well and discuss a little bit of that.
Yeah, kind of compare and contrast what we feel about the book, what we feel about the TV show, certain things like that, almost like a little fantasy book club, if you will.
One of my personal favorites. I dragged the rest of these guys into it, so I hope that you will join us because I think it's pretty great.
It's good so far. So I recommend just getting through the first part. It's introducing all the characters and getting to the real good meat part in the part 2. So, but anyways, besides that, just keep an eye out for our social media posts for that. There is also a shout out that we would like to put out. We released our first 1-minute one-shot as a standalone video on YouTube. In this scenario, there is a giant boulder that will be rolling towards you in a tunnel that you had been traveling in for quite a while, so there's no escape. The question is, with this giant boulder taking up the entire tunnel that you're walking through, what do you do? Well, after the release, we had somebody comment, David MacArthur had a very great idea.
Hi, David.
Where he would be a warlock with the Pact of the Genie, or Patron Genie, sorry. And he would place the lamp on the side of the tunnel where the boulder wouldn't hit, and then he would also bring the rest of his party inside of it as the boulder goes by, and then make his escape that way. That was a great idea.
That's a pretty smart idea.
It was a great idea.
That's genius.
So,
good on you,
props
man.
to you. And if any of you listening want to go ahead and check out the video, go ahead and leave a comment with what you guys have. I mean,
feel free to give your solutions for all the one-shots. We'd love to hear them.
And, you know, you can always send us private messages on our social media, on any ideas that you have for 1 minute one-shots that you want us to do. We're totally open for everything. So,
Or game.
anyways, with all of that out of the way, let's move on to our games, movies, and news discussion. So, first off, which is pretty exciting, Candlekeep Mysteries. It is a new D&D made adventure where there are a collection of 17 new mystery-themed D&D adventures, which is kind of like the Yawning Portals book that they have,
Or Ghost of Saltmarsh.
or Ghosts of Saltmarsh, where they're just like little mini clippets, or I don't know if I would call them one-shots, but just little like tiny adventures if that's kind of what your group ends up doing rather than a really long campaign. It seems like it's going to be pretty exciting. I always love the mystery. You know, anything mystery is always
Yeah, that
cool.
sounds like a
Using
lot
your
of fun.
brain to kind of like piece together everything. But
Puzzles and stuff.
the
That
release
sounds
date.
like the one shot I did for you guys a while back. The
Oh yeah.
one shot.
Yeah, it not murder party, but
It's like a murder mystery sort of type thing.
yeah, murder mystery.
A whodunit.
Yeah, who done it? There you go.
Bad guys.
But the Candlekeep Mysteries is going to be released on March 16th. So we might have a little bit of that on our next episode. So just keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, it's also going to be, I believe, a level 1 to 16 campaign. So it's going to be a pretty wide range of levels. I mean, 17 adventures. So it's almost like you're going up a level per adventure, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I remember doing, oh my god, Descent into Avernus, and Candlekeep is in that adventure. It's a library where, in order to even enter, you have to have a new book that they don't have in their library. It's something interesting. And
That's fun.
I've heard of that before.
what I'm understanding is that this is going to be kind of like what I've heard, and it might be wrong, but what I've heard is like you are being hired out by the Candlekeep to go and do these things and stuff
That's
like
cool.
that. So I don't know. That was some rumors. I'm not entirely
Cool
sure
if
if that's
true.
true or not. That would be pretty cool though. Just it's kind of like a Acquisitions Incorporated kind of idea where you have like Candlekeep is the Acquisitions Incorporated, and they are hiring
You
out
have a
people to go and
job.
do stuff. Yeah, that'd be super
I
cool.
like that idea a lot.
I mean, regardless, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Just to have those little snippet adventures, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So the other thing that we were going to be talking about is more focused on video games. Bethesda and Lucasfilms had a little bit of a partnership where they're going to be making Indiana Jones games. Ryan, you had more information on that. What
Yeah,
did
honestly,
you
there's
find?
not that much more information than that. They just announced, I believe, a couple days before us recording this podcast that they're going to be working on an Indiana Jones game. That's really all they have going for it. But
Sounds fun.
Yeah,
I
forward
think
to
it'd
that.
be really cool to have some kind of cool, whether it's an
Sounds
RPG
cool.
or like Uncharted-based
I
adventure.
mean, yeah, it better be better than Uncharted, because I feel like, Nathan Drake kind of does that already. Not to, throw any lob
Well, I
any
mean,
bombs into
very
this
clearly,
conversation.
Uncharted was based on Indiana Jones. I mean,
Oh, clearly,
hopefully,
absolutely. It's an homage.
hopefully,
real-
hopefully it'd be better. But
The real
you know.
difference, the real thing that like edges Indiana Jones out is that he's wearing a hat. So as long as they get the hat right, I'm
Well,
sure
that's got to be
it'll
its
a
own
masterclass.
mechanic.
I
If it's
believe-
not its own mechanic, then they're missing out.
Kind of like
Exactly.
Super Mario Odyssey. Like you can
Right.
like throw
Yeah,
it
you
and
can
it's
throw
its
it
own.
and possess Nazis.
course,
and
yeah.
it'll be great.
I believe the timeline of when this is happening will be during 1937. I believe is the other thing that's kind of spoiled from the teaser trailer that they had.
Okay.
I don't
So
remember
prequel.
much further than that. I think there's some
How he
more
gets the
talks
hat.
about maybe
Maybe
where
an
he's
origin
going.
story?
An origin of the hat, yeah.
I mean,
Indiana Jones's hat, origin.
I mean,
Haven't we have
already
that.
have that.
That's in Last Crusade, right?
Yeah, that
Right,
absolutely
yeah.
is. But
Whatever. No, an
It just
origin
doesn't really
story,
fit with my
like, to
canon,
where
so
he
I was
Yeah,
ignoring
whatever.
that.
I remember, playing some of the older Indiana Jones games for the PC, when they were coming out in the early 2000s. and
I
late-
mean, honestly, here's my question for you guys is, are you more excited for the Bethesda Indiana Jones or the Ubisoft Star Wars open world game?
What?
yeah, I just saw that today that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
LucasArts, yeah, they lent out a bunch of properties. I'll be perfectly honest, between the two of those things, I mean,
I
I'm a
would be
sucker
Star Wars.
for a Star Wars
Yeah.
Ubisoft. Basically, if you just reskin Assassin's Creed, I will be thrilled.
See, and
That could be a lot of fun. I'd be down.
the worst thing, like, I haven't even played Jedi Fallen Order yet. I heard it's really good. I bought it. Okay, so you can't get too mad at me. I bought it already. It's on my PS5, already loaded. I just been so busy with D&D content prep for your guys' homebrew campaign that I just haven't had any time to play any video games.
So you're blaming us for holding you back.
Yes, I am blaming you guys for an encounter that I made too hard for you. But I definitely will play it. I think
I might
that
get to it. Star Wars
the
is cool.
open world Star Wars sounds pretty cool. I would love to play that and just see what they got going on there.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Ubisoft does with it, because obviously EA has had the rights to the Star Wars games for the last couple years.
No matter what it is, it'll be nice to have a non-EA.
Oh my god!
I mean,
Star
brag
Wars
on
game.
EA all you want, but Battlefront 2 is a pretty super game at this point.
Okay. At this point, they started off fucking terrible.
Yeah, you're right.
And then they got their hand fucking slapped. The worst downvoted Reddit post ever goes to EA. Oh, they can never shed that.
Daniel does make a good point. Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PS2 is a rock solid game.
Also,
it absolutely is. I love the original Battlefront 2.
Super good.
Great
Yeah,
game,
but
kills.
But that one wasn't by EA.
No, I know.
Shout out to playing that on my friend's PS2
God,
at his
dude.
house.
I remember revisiting that game, the old one. It's not the same.
It's still pretty good.
it's still
Ryan and I
pretty
can play
good.
every once
It's
in a
good.
while.
It's
Yeah,
good.
I'll still
It's
load
just
it up.
not the same. Like
No.
the amount that video games have just developed since then, just creating
a
these
PS2
open
Xbox
worlds.
game.
Well, no, I know, and I understand all the limits that they had at that time, but like the map size is just completely tiny in those games. Again, I understand why.
It's been a while since I've
But,
played
like,
it, but
It just,
I have
I
very
felt
fond
like it was
memories.
so much bigger back then. And I think that's because of the fact that, like, we were at the top edge technology then. Now we're at the top edge of technology. I'm sure, like, 10 years from now, it's going to be, like, 4 times bigger. I mean, shit. Cyberpunk is, what did we even say at the very end of the last podcast? It was, like, 3 or 4 times bigger than GTA's map. My God.
that's insane.
Speaking of Cyberpunk, finished that game. Pretty good. I like the story. The bugs kind of fucking ruined it, but I think if you were to wait a little bit, it'll turn out to be a really, really
give it
good
a couple
game.
years in the oven.
Very, very good game.
I am on a completionist journey. I'm probably like 40 hours in. I have basically done 0% of the story because I've just been clearing out gigs,
Side quests,
NCPD, scanner missions, and side quests.
Yep.
I have completed, I think, 3 districts at this point. So I think I have 3 or 4 left. And once I'm done with those, I'll jump back into the story. So give me like 2 more months and we're going to be looking great.
Yeah, I got the good ending, so I was very,
Congratulations.
very happy about that. But anyways, with that aside,
Spoiler alert, Johnny, there's a good ending.
It ends?
oh, dude, there's different, yeah. I better be careful out there. Okay, well, with that aside, we're not going to spend too much time on Cyberpunk. It was a good game. But anyways,
It will be a good game.
any movies or shows that you guys have seen within the last month that you guys want to talk about?
Well, I definitely will start off with Cobra Kai Season 3 finally coming out after a very, very long wait between Season 2 and now.
Was that because of COVID?
No, it was not because
No?
of COVID. It was because, well, I think a couple different things. But I was there from day one with the very first
You were.
episode of Season 1.
Can't tell you.
Which, oh man, I've always loved Karate Kid, so being able to have this come out after, having the Will Smith, Jaden Smith Karate Kid come out, which
Ooh.
it's not a bad movie. It's not.
It's not. It's a decent movie.
It's not
just-
the same.
It's just not the same.
It's also not about karate,
No, it's not.
which really
About
bothers
learning
me.
your inner power.
No, it's
and
about
knowing-
kung fu. It's
It's about kung
he goes
fu.
to China and learns
That's-
kung fu.
That being
It's
said,
not
I
about karate
love
at all.
I love Jackie Chan in that. Jackie Chan did a phenomenal
a
job
good
in
movie.
it.
Jackie Chan is always good.
He
Should've
is.
been the Kung Fu
Jackie
Kid.
Chan is literally like one of my favorites.
Die
and he
now.
always
That's
will
great.
be.
Have you ever heard the story of Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee, where? Okay, so
I have not.
he tells it so much better, but I will give it a shot. So there was this one time where Jackie Chan was just a brand new actor, right? He got on set with Bruce Lee, one of his movies, I can't remember which one, but they were going into a fight scene, and he was one of the extras, Jackie Chan. And so he was the one that was supposed to run in there at the very end, and Bruce Lee was supposed to like fake hit him with a bow staff. So he runs in on his cue, he's super ready. Bruce Lee accidentally actually hits him in the head, but like a professional actor, he acts like he, meant to do that, and he like holds, then they call cut. He drops the bow staff, runs over to Jackie Chan. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you." And Jackie Chan at that time, he was like, "Oh yeah, when he was totally fine. He was totally fine. He was just like,
milking
ah. And so since then, for the rest of the time on set, Bruce Lee would be like, "Oh hey," and then like he'd point to his head like and give him a thumbs up, and then Jackie Chan was, "Oh yeah," and then like give him a thumbs up. So funny. It was
hilarious.
a great story. You should actually watch it on YouTube. Just type in Jackie Chan Bruce Lee story. I'm sure you'll find it.
Speaking
it's
of
funny.
Jackie Chan, real quick to quickly hijack our conversation. Armor of the Gods, one of the best Jackie Chan movies. I absolutely love that movie. It's so silly, has so many great stunts that he does in it.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Gosh, so good.
Armor of the
Anyways,
Gods.
I
Right.
loved it. I was recently watching the Karate Kid movies again. At least not all of them. I've watched the first and second one not too long ago. I was gonna watch the third one. I just haven't got there yet. I actually skipped to the fourth one because I've only really watched it once or twice. So the next Karate Kid.
The one with Hilary Swank.
Yes, that one.
Is that one any good?
It's not bad. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's completely different feeling than the other three. I mean, it's the first one that's not written and directed, I think, by the same director.
Mm-hmm. I've heard weird things. I probably won't watch it.
Yeah,
so.
it's not the best, but it still has Mr. Miyagi in it, despite it being
cool.
completely different. Anyways, Cobra Kai though.
Anyway,
on a whole different level. Since season 1, I really liked what they did. Because season 1 was very much in some ways, a rehash of the first movie, extended out over 10 episodes, I think, or 8 episodes, I don't remember. Second season, they kind of went a different direction a little bit. I really like the things they're going for, the things they're setting up. Third season, they hit everything that I wanted them to do in this season. And
That's great.
They set up for a very interesting fourth season.
Cool.
And
Sweet.
very curious
Right
to
on.
see, because they've announced that they're going to be going up to like 5th or 6th season. So I'm very curious what they're gonna
cool.
do
Cool.
for another 3
And
seasons.
Cobra Kai, if from what I remember talking to you about, it's not the same feel as Karate Kid. Obviously, everybody's all grown up, but you said that it was like kind of like almost a comedy spin on it, right?
I mean, it's
In some sense.
it's an action comedy for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, I see. Kind of like Marvel movies have like that bit of humor in there, but like it's
I almost
also
feel
action.
like the best way to describe it is that it takes these characters that are inherently like from the 80s and it puts them in now
Juxtapose
times.
them
and
into
you're like, so
2020.
it's fucking Johnny Lawrence and it's Daniel
Got
LaRusso
it,
and now
got
they're like
it.
adults and they have
Got
kids.
it. Okay.
But they're
It's
still
like
like,
the,
Daniel and Johnny from the
Right.
Karate Kid, but now they're like kind of set in this modern
Right.
world.
it's like the Brady Bunch movie.
Oh my god.
I
guys
haven't
ever
seen
seen
it,
that?
so
They made a
I don't
Brady
know.
Bunch.
Okay,
what
so-
a reference. What
No,
a
so
reference.
hold on. Hear me out. The Brady Bunch movie is actually super good.
No
No,
way.
listen. It takes the like campy, the family from like the campy super like saccharine TV show of the 70s, but it puts them in the grungy 90s, and so they're just this like happy-go-lucky family like walking around, and everybody else is like,
What the
what
fuck
the
is
fuck is going? Like, fuck you! Get out of my goddamn like.
That's so funny.
It's great.
I would watch that.
It's
I would
actually a
watch
really
that.
funny movie.
That's so
Worth
good.
checking
That
out.
that makes me think of Saved by the Bells reboot too, which I recently
Oh,
watched
yeah.
as well. And it's very similar in that aspect as well. Similar to Cobra Kai. I think Cobra Kai is definitely way better. I think it's the best show that's currently on right now. But anyway,
Well,
Saved by the
big
Bell was
praise.
pretty funny, especially if you watch the original series at all.
I did
Because it
not,
basically satirizes it. And
but I can appreciate that.
basically all these Bayside kids living in Southern California, they're living these very, unrealistic lives that are basically, they're in a TV show. And then when the conflict of the show where some of the lesser funded schools get canceled, they're having to transfer all of these, kids into the Bayside, and like just the conflict of the show is the Bayside kids living in a TV show intermingling with real kids from on
the culture clash between the two.
And
yeah, that's interesting.
Just like the Brady Bunch movie.
The thing that I liked
yeah.
honestly the most, I mean, I was laughing pretty hard through several bits of Saved by the Bell's reboot, but the thing that got me, I think, the hardest was the very last line of the last episode, because I don't want to deal into any spoilers at all.
Yeah.
But it
just
was
good call.
pretty funny.
Good call.
Just
where is the new reboot on anyways? Is it on Netflix?
It's only on Peacock, which is NBC's streaming service.
Right.
However, you can watch the first episode for free without an account. And then the other 8, or I don't remember if it's 8 or 10 episodes. I think it's 10. You can get a 7-day free trial. You could watch it literally all in one day if you really wanted to. I went ahead and kept my trial after that just to pay them, 1 month worth, just because I really liked it.
Just because you liked it that much? That's cool. That's a good endorsement.
Why watch that when you could watch what I've been watching, which is Warrior, excuse me, no plural. This is actually kind of similar to what we were just talking about with Bruce Lee, because it's actually based off of a concept for a TV show that Bruce Lee had that he wasn't able to film before he passed away. But it's about Chinese gangs in San Francisco in the 1870s, late 1870s.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
That sounds
and
cool.
it's kind of like grungy. It's sort of like Peaky Blinders-esque, if you've seen that.
Right.
But with like Chinese gangs and like Irish gangs. It's pretty good. I recommend it.
Interesting.
It's
I have
the
not
second
heard of
season
this
just
at
finished
all.
airing. You can watch it on HBO Max. I think it's from
Wow.
Cinemax, I guess. Anyway, pretty cool. Great diverse cast. They do some really cool like filmic kind of stuff. The way that they kind of tell the story.
Wow, I cannot believe I have not
Cool
heard
show.
of this
Check it out.
at all. Sounds really good. I'll check it out.
I feel like I've heard of it, but this is like the first I've actually like heard about
Good,
it.
good like fight scenes, because I mean,
Cool.
like the main
Because it's
character
Bruce
is like, supposed
Lee,
to be like
based on Bruce Lee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they
Everybody
definitely
likes
they
Bruce
pull
Lee.
from some good sources. Great acting also. Goes
Yeah.
without saying, but
Cool.
One show that, or actually, I'll bring up two, but one show that I had just recently finished is The Wire. Super old. I already know that, but it's on HBO Max, and I finally finished that 5th season. Such a good series. The 5th season is weird.
Okay.
The first 4 seasons are perfect. The
Wow.
5th season is just, they go off on, not a tangent, but like something that is a lot
Just
less
different than the rest of the show.
believable
Okay.
than the rest of it. Highly recommend watching it. It's
It's one of
definitely
those.
a lot of actors got. There's a lot of big actors in there, but
That
anyways,
got started there. Yeah, it's one
it
of
was
those
great.
things. I've heard a lot of good things from a lot of people, and I will watch someday. I just have not got around to.
Yeah, and then the ending just kind of wraps it, puts a little bow on it. Oh,
That's
it's
nice.
perfect.
That's
It's
good.
perfect. The other one that I wanted to bring up is the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I just started watching that.
I've seen that.
I'm on the 2nd season of that. It's going. It's good.
Like, it's kind of cool, right?
the final season just came out, right?
Is it the final? I knew a new season came out.
I don't know if it's the final. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was definitely the show definitely was canceled. So whatever the last season was
cool,
that came out,
awesome.
it's the final season.
You know what? That's probably fine. Honestly, I've seen
I prefer that.
seen the
because I
3
hate having-
seasons, and then I watched the first episode of the new season. I'm probably gonna finish it, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's got like a cool, spooky atmosphere and some interesting monsters and
Yeah.
witchcraft
Yeah.
and stuff. I enjoy my time with that show.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it as well. There's times where it like gets really cheesy, but it is what it is.
Totally.
I mean,
And it's gonna keep doing that.
but that's the
It's
whole
gonna-
point of it.
Yeah.
That is a
can't take
part
the
of
whole
its
thing.
style, and I
Mhm.
understand that, but that doesn't, prevent me from going like psh,
I
or
think-
like boo every once in a while just because.
I think
I don't like cheesy
the
stuff.
3rd season gets a little weaker. They start juggling too many irons in the fire, but
That
we'll
it,
see how the
they
4th season.
it looked
goes.
like they did that in the very first season too. It
Yeah.
looked like they were just juggling way too much.
They take a
And then-
lot on their plate, and they really could have spaced it out some more, and it would have been a lot better. But
Yeah.
for what
yeah.
it is, I think it's pretty good.
It's entertaining, and
Yeah,
that's all that really
Definitely.
matters.
Yeah. Speaking of spooky atmosphere and such things, you like that segue? Pretty good, right? I watched a movie a while ago called The New Mutants. That X-Men movie that was sent to die that no one watched a while ago, and that was pretty mediocre.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, it was nothing special at all.
But they put it out in such a rush. They were like, we've got a winner on our hands.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
release
totally.
it as soon as
Throw
possible.
it out there. Yeah, so I remember watching the trailers for this thing, and it looked like a cool, like, horror take on, like, X-Men, and got some cool stuff. It's got Arya Stark in there. Everybody likes that. And
Taylor-Joy, like one of the hottest actresses right now. And
so
I mean, in terms of the work that she's been doing, she's like had a bunch of shows that just came out.
She had a lot of good. So I was gonna bring up actually, like, the best part of it is Anya Taylor-Joy, who starred in The Vivitch and Split. Queen's Gambit just came out. She also stars in My Heart because she's great. And she plays Magic, who has been my favorite X-Men for a long time. X-Woman, X-Person. My favorite X-Person for like a long time. She's this cool like sorceress with a big sword and fire and shit. It's great. Every time she's on screen, the movie's fucking awesome. Woo! The rest of the movie is just it was okay. It was like wasn't bad. It was okay.
Now, was this released by Fox as well?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Their movies
came out like last year or something.
Their X-Men movies have not been good in the
past. They've been hit or miss. It kind of depends.
Which did you like more, Apocalypse or Dark Phoenix?
Dark Phoenix, I heard, was not very good at all.
I didn't watch Dark Phoenix, so I guess.
Yeah,
I would say Apocalypse. I have not seen Dark Phoenix, but
yeah, I haven't.
Don't watch either.
Yeah.
Apocalypse wasn't great. I heard Dark Phoenix wasn't very good either, and it seems like New Mutants wasn't that great either.
It's only worth watching if you want to see magic.
Got it.
So
cool.
On the Marvel thing, the one last thing I want to say before we probably jump over to our 1 minute one shot is I did watch WandaVision, which came out today. The first 2 episodes came out.
After this,
I enjoyed it a lot. I do know that going through Reddit today, there has been some mixed feelings about it. It is a very slow burn. Not a whole lot of things happen in these first 2 episodes. But I think being that they have 9 episodes and they're all about 20 to 30 minutes long, you know, you're basically getting a pretty long movie, I think, overall. And I think
I really did not get the sense that this would be like anywhere near a typical Marvel movie based on trailers. Like, I would not expect that from this.
Here's the thing with it. It is obviously from the trailers, you can be very clear that it's very sitcom-y. The first 2 episodes were like 2 standalone like sitcom-y stuff. There are things.
Yeah, they were going for that.
Yeah, they were absolutely going for that. It hit the nail on the head for every single trope that they've done so far in the first 2 episodes. The first episode was like 50s type. The second episode I think was 60s. I think now the third one's going to be like 70s based. There's a lot of things that they do. But I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to see what they do next. I know that a lot of people though have not liked it because
I'm
they didn't do a whole lot.
expecting to like it a lot.
But I liked it a lot. It was hilarious what they did. So
I like highly stylized things. We were talking about this a little bit ago, but I love things when it's unique in a way that I can't predict what's coming next. I love it when people just go all in on the idea that they have and just commit. And it seems to me like that show really commits to the way it wants to tell this story, and I'm in for that. I'm down.
Yep, we'll have to see how it turns out a month from now, when more of the episodes are out. But
yeah, I mean, it's made by Marvel. I think we can all put our faith in Marvel. They've done us well so far. DC, on the other hand, but we won't touch on that. Right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to our 1 minute one shot segment, where one of us will take on the role of the DM and create a obstacle that we have to attempt to solve as the players. So for this month's segment, Ryan, you are going to be taking on the DM role for us.
How's the rogue gonna fuck up this month?
Oh, just you wait, Zach. Just you wait. All right. So let me set the scene here. You feel the cool breeze of an early morning hit your skin as you awaken.
just got fucking swept away. Did you guys feel that?
Felt it.
A heavy bag is currently draped over your face, your hands bound by manacles. You feel the jostling from the wooden cart below you, your head throbbing.
Oh my god.
The night before, you and your party were all taken prisoner for crimes against the kingdom.
Oh my god.
In actuality, after completing a contract to rescue the king's daughter, he offered to host a feast in your celebration for his daughter's safe return. Things were going splendid. Laughter was had by all. Until the rogue slipped away from the party and was caught by the king banging the princess.
Oh my god.
Your thoughts of the night before return to the present as you are shoved off the cart. You land with a splash onto the muddy ground. The burlap sack is removed from your head. In front of you, on a raised wooden platform, a large guillotine is placed. You look down at your companions. It appears that you're all dressed in rags. All of your equipment and things have been removed, your hands still bound behind your back. The king steps forth and gestures violently to the rogue. Kill this one first! One of the armed guards grabs the rogue from behind, leading up the stairs and locking him in place under the guillotine. What will you do?
Real quick,
Yes.
Johnny, I think we were on the same wavelength.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys think Alduin was about to...
Yeah, I was waiting for the dragon to come down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had
That's
me.
totally
yeah.
where I was. We're all there. We're all there. We all played Skyrim. Okay.
It was very purposeful.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was a good
yeah.
fake out, because I thought... Anyway, okay. Give me... now I need time to think.
Oh god. Okay, so yeah. And the king is there and he's pressuring
the king is there.
So we're up for execution, and we gotta get out. All right.
All right. Well, first off, fuck the rogue. Not literally, but like, you know.
Yeah, the princess already did that.
Well, that's what got us here.
He was the one that did this. I mean, come on, dude. How dumb could you be? Second question, or not question, but you know, second point that I want to make. Is the princess here?
No.
Okay. All right.
All right.
She's not here. You have, I think, like a handful of guards.
Okay. And it's just
No, you don't have any of your things.
right. It's just us as the person and the rogue
And the executioner.
and the executioner and the king.
I'd say there's probably, as usual, probably a party of 4.
Okay. Okay.
This is Tubby.
Okay.
Okay.
What kind of rogue is this?
Whatever kind of rogue you want it to be.
Okay. You know, this is what I'm going to do.
Let's hear it, Johnny.
So I'm gonna be a druid, okay? And this kind of a thing, I would say that we're probably around level 5 if we're going out to save a princess, come back to the king. Maybe a little higher, that's fine. So what I'm gonna do is, as a druid, since you don't need any somatic parts in order to turn into an animal, I'm going to be a druid of the moon, and I am going to turn into a, we'll say, a giant bear. I am going to, as the druid, and this is just me watching the rogue go off, I'm gonna turn into a bear, I'm gonna run. I don't care. The other two guys, like, they could do what they wanna do. If I'm the druid, I'm turning into a bear, I'm running. They can hit down my hit points, but by that time, I'm already gone. I'm out of my shackles, my bear form broke out of them, and I'm good.
That's pretty good.
That's all I'm doing.
That was my thought as well, being a druid.
That's a pretty good idea.
You want to go next, Zach?
No, I'm not.
Okay, because I think I got an idea.
Go for it.
So, I'm a sorcerer. Okay. I'll also be 5th level. Why not? So while I'm standing here, so what nobody even saw, as I was blindfolded, is as a sorcerer I can cast shape water. So as we landed in this muddy puddle, I'm going to use shape water, and I'm going to form some ice inside of the locking mechanism of my cuffs. I'm going to break the cuffs. Okay, so my hands are now free. Then I am going to choose to cast Crown of Madness on the Executioner.
Okay.
And depending on my level of success, I will then free the rogue and get the hell out of there, because I'm gonna use my Crown of Madness dude to go distract the other guards.
That is a great idea. And Johnny just messaged me, and I was thinking the same thing already. Unfortunately, your shape of water would not work because it requires somatic components, which means hand movements.
But he's in
hands.
cuffs. But
But I'm in cuffs. But I mean, how many? If I'm in water and all I need to do is freeze water, you're telling me I can't? Because I'll go with you. But I'm gonna say, hey, Johnny's not the DM here. It's Ryan.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna say.
I feel like you can do that stuff in cuffs. You just like.
You tell me.
That's a good question.
Are they like
You gotta-
mittens?
In my head when I was designing this, I was designing it specifically to counteract somatic. So I'm gonna say, just for the designing purposes, I love the idea.
Maybe you have thumb
It wouldn't work.
cuffs.
Okay, well, I'm gonna take it back then, because actually, what I didn't tell you before was I'm not 5th level. I'm a 6th level. I'm a 6th level. What's the one from Tasha's Cauldron?
Oh, psionic, the aberrant mind.
Yeah, or better yet, I'm gonna use one of my quickened or my sorcerer points to cast without somatic movements. I'm
There
a
you go.
sorcerer. I have ways to cast spells without using my hands.
See,
I'm fucking
I
magic.
thought that's where you were going
I'm
with
fucking
it at
magic.
first. Yeah.
Yeah,
There is a
Perfect.
meta magic that
Yes.
just skips everything.
Yeah, then
you can
with that, I would allow that to work. You would be able to
Nice.
do the thing, and we'll go from there.
Nice.
Okay. I came up. I have an idea. I don't know if it's gonna work, but be damned. It's all I could come up with. So, I am a bard, a most prodigious singer, and I am going to cast on myself my bardic inspiration, and I begin to sing, and I sing out just the saddest dirge of my own life, and I plead to the king, please let me live, please. My mother's sick and the farm is being foreclosed, and I set out to find riches, and I don't even know this rogue very well. I just met him, and please let me live. I just want him. I didn't have anything to do with this. Please let me go. I'll never touch your daughter, please.
Start just crying right there.
All right.
And I'm putting this all to a sad melody to stir the hearts of the crowd and the royalty to please let me go.
They say strings are the closest things to human vocals, so they're the best to get you right in the heart.
Strings, yeah.
You got a violin, just
Tiny cuffed violin.
that was my violin.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going with.
Awesome. Okay. I like all those ideas. Let's go back to Johnny's first.
So I looked it up in the player's handbook just for everybody to know. Somatic, if a spell requires somatic component, the caster must have free use of at least one hand. So since you are cuffed, technically you don't have free use of one hand. So yeah, just a little,
You worked around it. You
tidbit
did
for
good.
everybody. Yeah, you did work around it. I thought that's where you were going in the very beginning, but anyway.
Had I known that, I would have done that from the beginning.
Cool. So Johnny, for you, I'm gonna have you, just for the sake of it, just roll a flat d20, and you're gonna do an intimidation roll just to see if you, number one, get surprise on them for one
Sure.
round to get away.
Sure. 16.
Yeah, I'm gonna say with whatever modifiers you'd have, if any, you'd probably be able to intimidate them enough to be startled, and you're able to get away just fine. Perfect.
Just a man turning into a fucking bear out of nowhere.
I wouldn't know what to do with that. That would get me.
Just the guard next to me is holding their sword or whatever, and they're just, I turn into a bear. I just imagine them being like, wait, what? And then,
Well,
All right, and then Daniel, go ahead and roll a d20 for your Crown of Madness. Just a flat d20,
Sounds good.
and we'll see how effective it would be. Most likely, I know it's probably a save, but I'll just do a d20. Just one
Yeah,
bit
no,
simple.
that makes sense. We make the rules. You're the boss. 14.
I would say with a modifier added to that, you'd be able to do it as well.
Woo!
nice.
Success.
Right on.
Cool. And then Zach, let's see. Go ahead and do a persuasion roll. You'd be expert in it, so go ahead.
I would. And I have bardic inspiration.
And you got
don't
bardic
forget.
inspiration, so
I rolled a 19.
yeah, you sing your sorrows to this king, and he kind
I
of gets a tear in
pour
his
my
eye,
heart out.
and he's like, "You've made a very good case," and he nods at
Let the
guard
bard go.
behind you, and they snip your rope. You stand up. Shink! You see the rogue's head get lopped
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
He deserved it. He deserved
And,
it. Like, come on, dude. Really?
I feel like
Was it consensual? Okay, that's the main question.
That is a
Because
good
otherwise,
question.
who cares? You know, she could do whatever she wants. She's a grown woman.
Yeah,
assuming.
King.
Yes, in this is all consensual and she was of age.
But the king disapproves.
But yeah, I'd say Daniel, you put the crown of madness on the executioner. The executioner starts going crazy and starts attacking the nearest person, which probably is the rogue still.
Oh god.
But you're able to break free, and you would be able to complete combat however it works. Yeah.
It's a distraction at the least.
Good enough. I gave him a shot.
I mean, the king would be looking, and all the guards would be looking at this guy just fucking swinging his axe around.
It'd give you time to undo the rope, or not rope, but you'd be able to break the manacles on the other two, absolutely, so.
Right on. Well, that was a great job all across
that was
the board.
a tough one.
That was
that was a really good scenario.
Yeah, no, when I created it, I was coming up with the idea of,
taking everything away.
Yeah, taking everything you have, and then
that
also
really
you not being able to cast the majority spells. Vocal spells you could totally cast.
Misty Step you'd be able to do as well, because that one I believe is only vocal. But yeah, you'd be able to just like.
But then you only get 30 feet away, and you got to start running.
Right.
Dimension Door also is a vocal.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, but I just don't imagine us being that high of a level.
True.
Saving a princess from someplace for
I feel like if you were high enough level to do that.
And of course we wouldn't even be captured by these low people if we weren't.
We wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah.
We'd be god tier.
Yeah.
GG.
Well,
everybody.
that was a great scenario.
That was
yeah.
good.
Yeah, no,
very
I'm
good.
glad
What do we call this scenario?
Well, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if you already had one.
No, I didn't.
Careful
yet, but
where you
I'm,
put your thing.
I'm glad that Johnny, that you had the same idea that I did. with
Yeah,
the
druid. Yeah. That's one thing that I always, if I ever play a druid, will always have in my back pocket is that you could try and bind me. I can switch into it without even needing. I don't even think it needs vocal either.
I don't think so. You just do it. The other idea I was thinking too, wasn't sure if anybody's gonna come up with it, was the runic knight.
I was trying to come up with
But-
something
becoming
to do
big?
with that.
But I don't.
Oh, yeah.
You number one, for something like that, you have to be like 18th level. It's crazy. But number two, I don't know if you need the rune.
I think you
blade.
need a piece of equipment to
I think
do
you
it.
need it to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that limits that.
But I think you can just etch it into anything. So it could be a piece of clothing that you're wearing.
Yeah, but they
handcuffs
also
or-
dressed you in rags.
Or the handcuffs.
You didn't have
True,
anything.
true. Yeah.
But anyways,
All
you guys
right.
did a great
Well,
job.
with that aside, let's get into our D&D discussion. All right, that was bad. D&D
Oh,
discussion.
I get it.
Yeah. I know that was bad. All right, I apologize for that.
I
Ryan,
liked it.
back to you. D&D for a younger audience. That was something that you were kind of researching this past month. What did you come up with?
Yeah, well, there is a lot of stuff that you can do with younger audiences, like, different kids. I think a majority of it was, 5 to 6 and up. Typically, I think any younger than that would be really, really challenging. But I had a coworker come up to me recently, and he was just asking me, like, my kid's really creative, and like, I hear you talking about this D&D stuff every now and then. I'm just wondering, like, how old should he be? And I think he was about that 6 to 7 years old range. And I was telling him, like, it's a very good way to be creative, and like there's a whole different things, like especially in researching, I found a whole list of things that are beneficial, why it would be good for kids to do, like math skills, team building and social.
Introduce them to the concept of death. Yeah,
that too. I mean, I feel like most children-based adventures would probably be a little bit more low-key, but problem solving, creative
it's gonna
thinking,
be there. It's gonna be hanging in the background.
Using imagination, that life doesn't always go as planned. Not in the sense of death, but in the sense of, like, maybe you want to do something really cool, and then the dice just don't happen for you.
Sometimes you die.
Yeah, there's a lot of creative problem solving and expression in D&D. I think it's a great outlet.
One of the other things I read in this one article too, which we'll link all these articles that I was reading down below in our podcast, was challenging the rules, and not in the sense of like D&D, but like in the sense of changing the world. Like, if something's not sounding right, challenging that. It's like, hey, that doesn't sound good, and then basically
let's go and fix it.
Yeah, coming up with a solution on how to fix it or change it.
That's cool.
So it's
I like that idea.
I thought
Like
that was a pretty cool idea. Yeah.
if like a king is racist towards a specific person, and then your kid is like, hey, that's not cool, let's go fix it, and then they're just like, they come up with like certain laws or something
come up
where they
with
can like
legislation
create
on how to introduce these. Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Writing it all down into
Parents
law.
putting racist kings into their kids' fantasy worlds.
Right. No, it's a great idea. Everybody do it. Okay, actually, no. I immediately regret saying that. Don't do it. That's terrible.
That's what we call in the biz a joke.
Yes.
Another thing that they were saying too is, role playing could be, a very good way for some younger kids to express feelings too. Like if maybe they have struggle, like in some way in whatever their environment is, just being able to play somebody else and be something might be able to help them express.
Do you think that like level of separation would ease them into actually being able to express themselves without?
Oh, absolutely. I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, if you,
I agree. I think that's really cool.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you practice what you want, like you practice how you want to play is something that I've always done when in all the sports that I did. And if you practice in D&D how you want to live your life, then you can take those. I mean, it's just like anything, like before an interview, if you were to do a mock interview, it's the same idea. You can use those skills into real life. I think that that's a great idea. Yeah.
In other words, everyone be theater majors, guys. I promise it's super useful. You're going to use it all the time. I swear.
Especially during
you make a good case.
The pandemic.
Yeah, especially now, for sure.
It's great.
And then the other thing that they said too is like, just great bonding and family time, like in general, like especially if you're running for your kids, like that's just time that you can put in with the family and just hang out and play some cool stuff.
I cannot wait to have kids so that I can have a consistent D&D party.
I mean, if they like it,
it's gonna be great.
If they enjoy.
No.
Doesn't matter. No, there's no.
Daniel, they're gonna like it. I'm gonna make sure.
He doesn't actually care about raising a child. He just wants a full party that he can count on to show up every week.
Actually, I was just chatting about this with a coworker of mine because he's got some kids, and he just recently for Christmas got them like younger like set for D&D that I guess has some kind of like adventures or something geared for younger people.
Is that the Essentials kit?
I'm not sure. He made it sound like it was something maybe kind of special. I didn't get too deep into it. I mean, I've played the kind of like the Essentials kit before. But yeah, where basically he was the DM and then he DM'd for his 3 kids. And he said that the biggest struggle that he had, or the biggest realization he had, was that for the younger of his 2 kids, telling the story in a way that allowed them to continue rolling dice, because for them that was the main thrill, the main enjoyment.
Of course.
Who doesn't like rolling dice in D&D?
Yeah.
Honestly,
it's still the main thrill for
like
me.
the most exciting part.
Yeah, if you don't throw dice at least once every, like, I would say 20 minutes.
Yeah. Why even bother?
Yeah. Agreed.
You're gonna lose your people.
Agreed.
You're gonna lose your players. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's super cool. I think that you can definitely see the benefits that would come from it. And also, I want to revisit what I was saying earlier about the racism thing. I think that it is okay, hold on. I know that sounds bad. I think it is a great way to introduce something similar. Maybe not like full-blown racism, but like maybe you have a social encounter. Hold on. Have a social encounter in the city where like some dude just like pushes a guy out of an establishment and he's like, we don't sell to orcs here, or something like that. And the guy is like, you see, like, your party walks by that and see how they react to that kind of a thing. If they go and talk to the guy, be like, have him be the nice person and be like, yeah, I don't know why. He just doesn't like me because I'm an orc. And then they're like, that's not cool. And then they go into that place, or then they can create their legislation, or they can just have like people be like, don't buy from here because these people are actually racist. Something like, I think that is just a good
teaching things
something.
And just
right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It is. That.
I think that it is something that should be taught to kids in a lighter manner, not obviously like straight up to them.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I agree. Well, like, let's say like we mess, but like there's nothing inherently wrong with having racism in your story, or like having that be an element or a plot point or whatever. And I think that is good to throw some challenging ideas in there and see how people react to it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that could be an interesting way to like introduce it to kids, through, again, that layer of separation so they can apply it to the real world later in their lives.
Yeah, definitely.
What I was gonna say is, so there's a collection of different adventures that you can find that are designed for younger kids and stuff like that, and a lot of it's on the DM's Guild, where you can find a lot of smaller creators doing really cool things. There's a couple that I will just shout out right now, and we'll link below as well. But there's one called Clonker's Guide to Being a Hero, which is a collection of 5 all-ages adventures for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. There's another one called I Want to Go Home, and that is a classless, battleless adventure for 3 to 5 players. And it's a lighthearted, wholesome experience, and definitely an adventure that can help kids and other beginning players have a really simple and relaxing trek into D&D rather than being swamped in with like really complicated, encounters or, the worry of
The
death.
ever-present specter of death.
Pretty much that.
So that
cool.
one sounds more like an RPG than it does sound like D&D, where it sounds like they roll dice, but there's no classes, there's no nothing, they're just there.
It's a very,
That's cool.
very
So like a
simple,
simulator, kind of.
almost, yeah. I mean,
Right,
I didn't
yeah.
read that one. I didn't read the Conqueror's Guide to Being a Hero either, but they're both were pretty highly recommended. It looked like on DM's Guild, and I loved the art on them, and it looked like it was a very good representation of what it should be for younger kids. And then one of the other cool things too was Wizards of the Coast actually released a article talking about DMing for kids specifically, which I thought was pretty cool that they made an article about it. And at the end of the article, they also linked to a short and free mini 30-minute long adventure that's designed for 6-year-olds and up. And it's a very, very simplified, modified rules of D&D. It's called Monster Slayer, Heroes of Hesiod, or I'm not sure how they're pronouncing that, but it's a very simplified version of the game with miniaturized and simplified pre-generated characters. It's like literally the characters are like small, not quite playing card size, but they're not much bigger.
Oh, like that's the sheet?
Yeah, like it just tells you basically all you see is the name, the armor class, the hit points, how many spaces you can move. So not even feet, just how many spaces you can move.
Gotcha.
That's a good way to shorten on some math.
What your attack roll is. So you get 1d20, and then it just adds one, I think, bonus to it. And then every damage that you do, you don't have any damage dice. You just do 1 damage.
Gotcha.
And you have one special
That's
ability
cool.
that's based on whatever your class is.
Right, yeah. So making it like a card game almost.
Kind of.
Ish.
Just
where you
basically-
still get to roll a dice, but
you roll dice and you just have like a character
that's
that
cool.
you have. And the whole premise of the adventure is that all these kids are living in this village that gets attacked by monsters. So they train everyone, including the kids, to defend themselves. And so once a year, they bring the younger kids up to this cabin to start their training. And as the start of the adventure, we get brought up to this cabin. There are inside the cabin 4 cages, and each has a different monsters in it. And the 5 to 6 kids basically fight the monsters until they defeat it. And they can have like I think 2 monsters at once going on at the same time. But if any of the kids get knocked down at all, they just leave it. They don't add a second monster until they defeat it. And then at the end of each round, the teacher kind of heals them all up back to their full health, and something very simple to kind of just help them get into it. And it says
Actually kind of sounds like fun.
yeah, no,
does.
it was designed. It said for kids 6 and up, as well as anybody who just doesn't have time to sit down and do actual D&D. So maybe we'll have to play through this at some point, because it says all
that'd
you
be
need
cool, just to show it.
are 5 to 6 people, pencils, paper, 1d20, or if you don't have a d20, most people have some board game that has a d6 in it, so you just have 3d6, and that is a replacement for the d20 in this case. And then it includes little printouts for all the different tokens you need, or in a little simple map. It's a very, very simple little thing, but it's a pretty cool mini board game scenario, basically, if people are limited
Cool.
on time.
Yeah, right on. We'll have all of that information in the description with all the links and stuff like that. But right on. So yeah, if you're trying to do anything, go ahead and follow all those links. But Daniel, you also have something.
Yeah.
Improvisation.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Well, first of all, just because I love improvisation in general, I like, just kind of going with the flow and kind of creating your narrative without all this kind of preconceived stuff, because you find a lot of unexpected kind of gems that way. And it came up because, as I'm sure we've referenced at some point, but we're all currently in a group going through this adventure that Johnny is making right now. And so recently what happened was we came up across this big villain that by all accounts, we should have struggled, but we could have defeated him and continued on our quest.
I'm not super convinced on
yeah,
that
well,
point.
only the DM can know. Only the DM can know.
Okay, here.
But we'll get
here.
there. We'll get there. But here's why I loved it so much is because we did not. We got smoked in 2 rounds.
The hardest we've ever been smoked.
And we've played,
ever.
I've been playing with them for almost 3 years. We fought multiple dragons as part of our other campaign. We've done a lot of things, and we've never gotten our asses whooped quite like this before. And the best part is my character, actually, there was a moment where I was not stunned. I had just gotten out of my stun, because we basically got stun locked, and that's sort of where it all went downhill. I guess I could have escaped, maybe, perhaps, and then I guess everyone else could have created new characters. But instead, what we opted to do was to decide, okay, you know what? You're too strong for us. If we can't beat them, join them. And now our campaign has taken a completely new shift, because instead of fighting what could have been the start of some kind of arc of villainy, now we are the villains. And we are even attempting, depending, we'll see. Johnny's shaking his head. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. That's what I'm getting to. But we're even trying to befriend, perhaps. Who knows? This villain. Some of us are definitely trying to do that. Even though I see Ryan, the face he's making right now, he does not want to. He's not interested. His character definitely doesn't want to. But the rest of us are kind of down. And I just love moments like that because, first of all, it makes the DM work extra hard because they don't work hard enough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But more importantly,
slackers.
I feel like it allows so much more depth with our characters. I'm reinvigorated for our campaign because it's not like I knew what was going to happen, but I had sort of a clear path in mind of like where we were headed. My character had certain objectives. What he wants is very clear. And now I get to consider all of these new possibilities of, okay, my character has something from his past that he wants to kind of to discover and solve. Well, now he has a whole new avenue to pursue this journey of his because there are doors and people that are open to him now that he could never have spoken to before, that no one would ever give him the time of day, or might just kill him upon sight. So it just makes me so excited as a player to keep playing. And I guess I wanted to hear what the rest of you guys kind of thought about that moment in particular, but also about that in general, if you have any other moments like that.
See, I do want to say something real quick before we get too far off and I forget about it again. That scenario, because Zach...
Well, hang on. I was gonna say, Johnny, do you want to just describe the scenario so you know what we're talking about and give us your point of view from this? Because it's easier with specifics.
I definitely had, like, if we had more time, I would go into this way deeper. So,
tell the people
my players, there was a crashed Illithid ship that had crashed, however unknown, many years ago, right? And there's this lead that I've been kind of throwing at them ever since the beginning of the campaign. Well, they finally get to a point where they find Illithids, right? A mind flayer. And they go through a broken half of it, they find another half of it further down the cave, and they finally go past all of these different chambers that had all of these different, Illithid-themed things. They come to the very end, the brain library, where like the entire walls are just covered with glass chambers of brains just inside.
A
and
lot of goo. That
an
episode.
illithid starts to float down from the second floor. And they're like, oh, we got this. Cool. All right, whatever. So, I'm playing as the illithid. He has something that he needs help with, which is one of the reasons why he's kind of gathering as many bodies as he can at this point. But he starts extending his help, or not help, rather, but, promises that he can make for certain people. He detects their thoughts and he sees what they want and says, if you help me, I will give this to you. Okay. Then combat starts. Combat starts and finishes pretty quickly because they had a few encounters beforehand, or one encounter beforehand that kind of brought them down a little bit. They didn't heal beforehand, didn't expect to see a mind flare, and his one mind blast...
I was at full health, Johnny.
Oh, okay. His one mind blast downed every single one of them because every single one of them failed their intelligence save, which, by the way, all of them, most of them, have an intelligence at least over 15. So I didn't think it was going to be that bad of an encounter. And then it was.
So what basically happened, like what he was saying is, because of the Mind Blast, what that does is it stuns us all. So it doesn't down us, but it makes us unable to do anything until we pass the saving throw. Which was what I was going to get into, was kind of going back to Drowhard with our live stream of that adventure. It goes to show how much of something can make a difference. One dice roll. That affects everything. Had maybe even just one or two of us pass that stun, that would have changed the entire encounter. Zach?
Right, and I had a cleric with you guys too. So if he were to pass, you guys would have probably been okay, because that Mind Blast is on recharge too. So he wouldn't have been able to he might not have been able to do it on the next round. But anyway.
Secondly, Zach, you were saying that you don't think it was possible. It was 100% possible. Because especially here, just this alone, if me and you, if we had I think this could be a strategy in the future, because you have your sword, which is basically a wand of magic missile, essentially. You have that, and I have magic missile. Well, I don't know if Sabrina's character, the other wizard, has magic missile too. But if we just pop that off at the highest level, each of us,
that's true. Just unload
that just
it.
Completely annihilates him. I'm not sure how much Johnny changed the Mind Flare, but if it's still like a middle tiered, a Mind Flare, just our average damage would be enough to just instant not kill it, but like,
assuming he doesn't have that one shield that
do a lot.
That does that
assuming he doesn't have that, which Mind Flayers don't by default have that. I don't know, like I said, how much Johnny's changed it, but
I say maybe it was impossible. It probably wasn't. I'm sure we could have. It makes sense that you were really banking on those intelligence rolls. Like, I wouldn't have guessed that we would all fail either. See how you can make that mistake? So it really just comes down to bad luck. But at the same time, it felt appropriate that we got smacked by this guy. Like, in the fiction, it really felt like we were outmatched, and I think it works.
And I will also say I rolled double natty ones on Insight beforehand, so I believed him.
No matter. He was in there. And yeah, I actually had a great time, like, rolling with it and, like, being in his thrall, essentially, now. I think that's really fun. I think improv is a valuable tool when playing these games, and you can, bounce off of each other characters. You got all these players who are going to say all this different stuff. You got to roll with it and do what you can.
Right. Building off of that, I think that it's super important, and this goes to a DM that you trust. Like, if you have a DM that you trust to get the story done, I mean, I set up that, I need help minutes before we jumped on, because I was like, okay, I went through the encounter again and I was like, okay, what if?
On the off chance.
All right, let's just make sure. And then I had a good idea. I had a really good idea spark at that time, like right before we jumped on. And I was like, cool, okay, if it comes down to this, he has something. And I had already, alluded to that in the session before, so that I was like, okay, I have to make that idea. That's what it is. Cool. And the fact that, like you're saying, it happened like that, I am thankful that you guys do have that trust in me where it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna just do a complete right turn and we're just gonna follow whatever is happening down this road. And it actually created an even better, in my opinion, story that I'm really
excited about it. And I think improv is just as valuable for the DM. I think if they can, if they come up with something on the spot or an avenue or plot line they want to go with, like, absolutely take it. Like, what if this happens instead? I didn't plan for it, but
right
now you guys are going to do this or whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, I
think
had
that's super fun.
No plan for this to happen at all. And the fact that it did is, I think that but the rest of this story that we're in now, I think is way better than the idea that I had before.
Zach, did you have a favorite kind of like improv moment from your time in D&D or some of our other sessions or any of our other adventures?
Favorite improv moment? Ooh.
I know
what's
one.
yours, Johnny?
Hit me. Yeah.
For Zach,
there's a lot of
the very first dragon that you guys killed. What did Deanna do?
She did a lot. You got to remind me.
She made a steak.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
She cut out a nice slab of dragon, and you were like, yeah, this is a good idea. That's totally improv.
Yeah,
That's not something that you thought of.
That's true.
And that turned into something that just
turned into a running
played
joke
into the rest of the campaign.
Yeah.
And it's something that we look back on and we're like,
great.
That's cool.
Every time we killed a dragon, I'd try to eat some of it, and it would be different flavors. I love stuff like that. Yeah.
Always turn out bad, but you did it anyways, and it was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually the reason you had for your one shot that you did for us, Zach.
Yeah.
Why your character was not in it is because she was sick from eating dragon steak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had to step out, and so it worked out really well.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite improv moments, Daniel?
Well, okay. I mean, I think that there's a bunch. I mean, I think that pretty much any of the running jokes that we kind of created were great. I think that one of my favorites was in our last campaign. At one point, I played a half-orc, Gurk Clergergen, who was a paladin. Ultimately, I mean, he was not like super. I wouldn't call him super devout. He was pretty tight with Torm, but he was kind of like Jehovah's Witnessy, and so
Some would say devout.
I mean, but
he was pretty devout.
Sure. I mean, I think he
wasn't the Bible thumping you need Jesus kind of person.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I guess so.
But he liked to spread the good word of Torm, which just kind of
convert every motherfucker.
Yeah,
we
just
ran
kind of
into.
naturally, but also like started a lot of cool conversations. But one of my favorite encounters that we had was we met kind of like not our opposites, but kind of like another adventuring party when we were in this Coliseum that we ended up fighting. And then there was like another, was she a half-orc or was she like a Goliath or something?
No, she was an Azamar. She was an Azamar paladin of Bahamut.
There was her who like I had kind of like an on again, off again kind of romance with. But not just them. I can't remember. That was the one that I'll remember because I feel like Gurk had the most connection with that character. But do you guys remember who the other two were? Anyway.
Yep. It was Bendis's mom.
Right.
One of our characters' mom
Yes.
that worked
That's
as
right.
a waitress at a local tavern that they stayed at. Gurk very knowingly went after this mom.
Hit on Bendis's mom, which was Ryan's character.
Love Don't Judge.
Again, like just moments
It's
like
meant to be, it's meant to
you know,
be.
it just the description of her. You know, I realized like that's Gurk's
That's
kind
the type of girl you're
yeah,
into.
Gurk's kind of gal. Let's see, maybe if she's down. She wasn't.
But hey, you gotta shoot
you
your
gotta
shot,
try.
right?
You know.
Yeah.
Good times. Those were good times.
I thought of another pretty good
Yeah.
moment that turned into a pretty good running joke. When we were running Death House, our friend Sabrina's character walked into a closet and a broom fell on her. And I think she like failed a dex save or she took a hit from this broom.
Well, the broom was animated and it just kept on slapping her.
It
Yeah.
kept whapping her. So throughout the campaign, anytime a broom would come up, it would trigger her PTSD and she would freeze up. Cut to my character getting a broom of flying and flying across the map all the time. And I'm like, yeah, come on, get on the broom. It's fine. I promise. She's like, no, I can't with the brooms.
Yeah. So good. So good. And these are just things that like kind of pop out. I think that
Yeah, just little moments.
I think they make the most memorable.
It really
moments.
is important. It is important to go with the flow. I mean, you do have to have some sort of a box that your character is in, but don't be afraid to color outside of the lines every once in a while, because that's what creates these memorable
and
moments.
the inside jokes,
you know?
and those are the reasons I think I love D&D so much. That's the community part of it, right? Because we have all of these shared memories of things that we did together in a fictional, mental space, but that we all fondly remember all of these super specific. I can't tell you when this happened. I don't know. I have no point to reference. I know where in the story of our characters it happened, which is hilarious that I have no idea when it actually took place. But I just love
game
this.
time and real time are just completely different.
Super blur. So Daniel, as a theater major, what advice would you have for us stiff non-theater majors for getting into the improv spirit and loosening up and going with the flow? What kind of tips can you give us?
Well, I don't want to, I don't want to brag, but we did have an improv team back in high school that I did. I was with for a few years, and I think the biggest lesson I took from then, which I still use, is you've probably heard this before, but yes, and just don't say no. You just if you don't say no and you keep saying yes and you keep building and you don't stop the momentum, that's when really cool things happen. Because there's always a reason why, you can be like, well, I understand that I just saw something really interesting down this alleyway, and maybe my character wouldn't necessarily follow whatever weird thing I just saw, or whatever, wouldn't necessarily react to, but I'll just go with it, I saw something interesting, let's track it down, or that was curious, like I should try that again, or how can I, where do you go from here, instead of how can I take back what I just did and do something better?
Yeah, there's a bad guy gang here in this town, and there's this character that came up to me, and they're saying, hey, let's go investigate this manor. There's that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, fuck you.
Yeah,
this was
too easy. How do you know I want to be a good guy?
Little reference here. In this same campaign with the Illithid, about like 3 or 4 sessions before, I thought the campaign was going one direction, and my players were like, no, and they just took a sharp left turn, and I was like, and I literally improv'd the entire session because I was expecting you to go to the manor, and you didn't. So I improv'd the entire session, and that's why improv is so important. Yes,
and that was great because I will defend to the ends of the earth that what we did was within what our characters would have done. And
absolutely, I understand
we forced Johnny to have to improv because we were like, but this is what we would do though. Like, I totally hear you, Ezra. I know that you want us to like avenge these dead people or whatever, but like, who the fuck are they? I don't care. We have other adventures we need to get done.
I stand by that. Yeah, that is totally within our character, and that's what we would have done. We acted appropriately. I would also argue that maybe it put a fissure in the party, but it's fine. We can smooth that over. It's fine. We're good now.
There are so many fissures now, that's part of that's the beauty of improv.
That's the fun, right?
Yeah, one of the biggest, other lessons from that little sharp left turn is that party cohesion is extremely important. That might be something that we bring up in a further episode. But I mean, other than that,
did I tell the Starbucks story on this podcast yet?
I don't think so.
Nope, but you're about to.
Nope, we'll save that for another day.
All right, right on.
Yep.
Well, seeing that we're all good, thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast here, Talking XP. If you guys like what you heard, we release new episodes every third Tuesday of each month. So if you have any ideas or topics for any topics or any comments or questions or anything like that, go ahead and find us on our social media, talking_XP. Go ahead and send us a message, post on our Twitter, or send us a message on Instagram, or whatever you want to do. just let us know. So make sure to level up, and we'll see you next time.